Hello, it's me, Kent Peters again, here to do another video on another Saturday. I may do 2 videos a day, we'll see. Well, here's something that a lot of people have been doing recently. And these are my thoughts. Should you quit your job? I know a lot of people are going to be like, that's a dumb thing to do. Is it a dumb thing to do to quit your job? It depends. Let's go over a video though. First of all, do you like working at your job? So that's one thing you need to think about. If your job is paying you a good amount of money and you enjoy working at your job, you really love your job, why would you quit? As long as you're physically able to still work at that job. Because obviously at some point, age does get all of us. Maybe you're like a police officer. You enjoy doing that job. You enjoy the work. But at some point, when you're like around 85, you're probably not going to want to run around chasing bad guys anymore at that age. It'd be pretty difficult when you're like 85. So chances are, and you probably should, retiring is more likely when you're that age than actually quitting. I'm just giving an example. Or another example, let's say you got injured. You can no longer become a police officer. So that happens. And here's another thing to reconsider. If you're going to quit your job, do you have another job to replace it with? So that's one thing. If you have a job you just don't like, you always want to make sure you have another job to replace it with. Because I had jobs I didn't really like. But obviously I wasn't going to just quit and not have a job. Because some of these people, they're just foolish. They'll just quit their job. And then they're jobless all of a sudden. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why the heck did you quit your job? Now you don't have income coming in. I had a friend that did that. I am not going to say his name because I don't want to shame him. But he was working at this one job. It was called Cheney Brothers. He just quit that job. Then he ended up working. Actually, he didn't have a job for a while. Then he found a job at CDI. It's another truck company. So he worked there for a while. I don't remember how long he worked there, but he didn't work there too long. He quit that job too. So then he was jobless for like months. For several months. And eventually he did find another job. But it took him a while. But between leaving CDI and getting his next job was Pepsi. So between that time, he didn't have income coming in. So it was pretty much his wife that was just working. But eventually he got a job at Pepsi. And of course he did quit Pepsi, but I'm not some sense in his head at this point. And I'll tell you another thing you should do. Always give a 2-week notice. And because the other jobs, he didn't give a 2-week notice. He just left. So you want to always give like 2-week notice, because here's another reason. And by the way, he did go back to Cheney Brothers. But he did give Pepsi a 2-week notice. And I guess the people at Cheney Brothers, they took him back. He had like some personal problems, but I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. But I didn't give you his name, just remember that. But anyway, you always want to give like a 2-week notice. You don't want to burn bridges. So what I mean by that, let's say you was working at like a fast food joint. And you did find a job. And you know what you do? You don't give them a 2-week notice. You're like, you know what? F this job. F you. You cuss your boss out. Hey, like, you can't fire me. I quit. You leave that job. Because also you found a better job that pretty much gave more money. It was like a security job. But let's say you did get that job, that security guard. And a couple months later, you end up being fired. So guess what? You try to go back to that fast food joint. And your boss will be like, oh yeah, you remember when you quit? You cussed me out? That wasn't cool, man. So I'm not taking you back. So you don't want to burn bridges. Because I'm not going to even name this job, but there was this job I was working at. And when I did quit that job, I didn't go around I kind of wanted to, but I didn't. Because the reason, I don't want to burn bridges. In case my current job, for some reason, I end up being laid off, and I try to go back to this old job, it's probably easier for them to take me back because I did work there for a while before I quit. So they probably be willing to take me back more than likely. And another thing, have a plan if you're going to quit your job. You got to plan it all out right. So you work at a job that you just don't like. And you're just going to think to yourself, what do I do? How can I afford to quit this job? So you may, like I say, you got to look for another job, of course. But maybe some of y'all want to do something else. Some of y'all might want to make your own business. So that's another option. Some of y'all might have that side hustle that becomes your main income. I do talk about side hustles in this channel, but maybe that side hustle you was doing while you was working at your job, you're starting to make more money on that side hustle than your actual job. I mean, in a case like that, yes, you could quit. I mean, it could be a good plan. But like I said, always give a 2-week notice and don't cuss your boss out when you're quitting. Just don't do it because you don't want to burn bridges. But that side hustle, if it ever goes downhill, it'll be easier for you to come back to that job. Especially if you was a good worker, they really like you. It'll be easier to come back. Then if you was like always late, always complaining, just cussing people out, that'd be pretty tough to come back then. So the question is, should you really quit your job? I mean, you just don't get mad one day like, you know what, I'm just gonna quit. Because it don't work that way. I know some of y'all watch my video like, you know what? After I quit my job, I'll just quit my job and find another job really fast. It really don't work that way. Like I said, it took my friend, let me see, I don't remember how long it took him to find another job when he quit. He didn't have a plan, he just quit like that. Of course, now I tell him, if you ever feel that way, just talk to me about it. I mean, I didn't even quit my job, but when I was looking for another job, it took forever. And this is when I had a job, I was looking for another job. I mean, it just took forever to find another job. I mean, it took years, literally. This was when I was younger, early 20s. Because I was working at this place called Albertson, and they started closing down. They got bought by Rose, so I figured, okay, I'll just find another job. It's going to be easy. It was not easy. I was trying to get jobs in these restaurants. Because I actually want to work at a place near some hot girls. Because there were some hot girls that work at this one restaurant. I wanted to work there, but I couldn't get them to hire me. Hey, I was young. I think I was like 20 back then. I was 20, I was single. I wanted a girlfriend. But anyway, I was not able to get another job. And I did end up working at Rose. So I'm just gonna point that out to you. I was literally going to restaurants trying to get a job. And guess what? I have never worked in a restaurant at all. Even though I applied to a lot of these restaurants in my area, I have never worked in a restaurant ever. And I was applying for years too. But I just tell you why I was trying to work in a restaurant. I also feel like maybe I can make more money working in a restaurant than working in a grocery store. I feel like maybe when I get those tips, it would probably be bigger. But we will never know what it would have been like if I worked in a restaurant. So if I did quit my job without any plan, I would pretty much been screwed. I would have had to live off my parents. I mean, I was living with my parents, but they would have literally had to pay everything for me. And this is before all the Uber, because back then there's no Uber, Postmate. There wasn't any of that stuff. Man, these college kids, they have it easier now. Because when I was in that age group, yeah, I gave away my age. I'm not in that age group anymore. But when I was in that age group, well, that stuff wasn't around. Man, I'm trying to imagine myself if I was working for Uber when I was like 19 or 20. I think it could have worked out if they would have had it back then. So is quitting your job dumb? I mean, it can be dumb if you do it without you just impulsively just quit your job and you have like no plan. I mean, that's a dumb thing to do. But if you have a plan, it can work out for you. It really can. So just think twice before you quit your job. Because if you do quit your job, you could actually end up homeless. That's if you don't live with your parents. But if you did find a job to replace your current job, I mean, go for it. It could work out for you. Just don't burn bridges with your current job. Because if that new job don't work out, you're going to have to go back to the current job. And of course, maybe you have a plan. Maybe you're working on your own business. I say if you have your own business you're working on, I say you still stick with your main job for a little while. And once your side hustle or business, whatever you're working on, start picking up, then I can say it's pretty much safe to let that job go. So I hope this answers you God's question. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Sign up for it. Not sign up, but hit on that bell button. That way, every time I make a video, you'll be notified. And have I ever quit my job? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I pretty much only really quit 2 jobs in my life. So yes. By the way, I've never been fired, just to let y'all know. Well, with that being said, have a good day. Bye for now.